What happened to men being the pursuers? Y'all don't chase anymore.
Huh. I wonder what it could be.
Terrible.
Take a look at the differences between the world we live in now and 1950, if you could travel back in time. The margin is enormous. I can't help but wonder. That has been ongoing for a while. Why did men no longer approach women? In the 1950s, when you had no choice but to make a frigid approach to women, things are just not occurring the same way. There were no cell phones, the internet, or even social media in the 1950s. There was nothing like that back then. You either spoke to the woman personally or met with her father at the church if you lived nearby, ideally in the same neighborhood. Currently, meeting ladies is as simple as sitting on your couch and using a dating website. No, sir. She had just the men in her neighborhood to pick from, or Prince Charming who came to her little town, and she fell in love with him. It required serious work back then to get a woman. Because there isn't as much communication as there is now, more men would be willing to approach women. He wasn't certain if he would run into the woman again. Who knows, she could end up becoming his future bride. He had to make his shot. However, in today's world, social media is widely available and can be accessed by anybody. Even if we don't physically speak to each other anymore and fewer men approach women, we still feel connected, even though we are actually more distant than ever. That merits its own discussion, in my opinion. We need to know what transpired and what will happen if this keeps happening. Why then do guys not approach women? To start, you must understand men. Men often consider the dangers and outcomes of a situation before acting. Take a look at how men treat marriage to see how this is true. They consider the risks and benefits of marriage and what they stand to lose if the woman files for divorce. The same rules apply while talking to women. Women are to blame for the process's high risk and little payoff. First of all, men already fear rejection and humiliation from women. Therefore, for a man to approach despite the possibility of being rejected, mocked, or called a creep shows that he believes the result is worthwhile. However, in the society in which we now live, women view the typical man that they don't want as predators, creeps, sexual assailants, and rapists. Who, in their right mind, would still want to approach a woman? The average woman would embarrass the average guy more frequently than not if he politely approached her to start a conversation. I've watched a number of videos where men try to speak to women without being impolite or weird, and the lady just makes a complete fool of him. For giggles and attention, the woman then publishes the content on social media after fabricating the story that he was a weirdo. I'm sitting here watching the video and wondering why in the world I would want to approach a lady in today's society. The reason for this must be understood in light of the fact that different women treat different men in various ways. Now that I know you could be perplexed by it, I'll clarify what this implies for you. I want you all to reflect on instances in your own lives when you were approached by a beggar or a homeless person who appeared ragged. The moment someone crossed your path, you went on the defensive and decided not to speak to them or offer them anything. The same is true for women, but it's worse now than it was a century ago. Therefore, women need to exercise additional caution, since they may be taken against their will by a man at any time. Yet there is a dilemma. A male is publicly humiliated by a woman while she is out in public and surrounded by people, making her feel somewhat protected. It is safe to say that modern women no longer respect men. Do you believe a woman who is well known for treating disrespectfully the ordinary and below-average men who approach her would treat Jeff Bezos in the same way? Obviously not. Jeff Bezos is a well-known billionaire who owns prestige, power, and wealth. A man who was obviously superior to her in every way would not be spoken down to or treated with contempt by that woman. As you can see, a man's standing and perceived value are ultimately determined by the way he acts, speaks, and approaches a woman. A woman will treat other guys differently depending on how she sees them. If she doesn't think they are better than her, she will treat them like garbage. On the other hand, if she thinks they are, she will treat them like kings. The majority of guys, in my opinion, are already aware that modern women no longer respect them and have made the decision to avoid interacting with them. Men are opting to completely distance themselves from women after observing how they treat other guys. Men are no longer buying that bullshit because they have learned that women's views about them are just becoming worse and will continue to become worse. Men have realized that approaching women always results in a bad experience, putting their reputation and potentially even their freedom in danger. Why the heck would guys risk all of that and receive nothing in return? I don't know if you know, but men have had the cops called on them simply because they approached a lady who didn't like them. At this point, men must weigh the dangers of approaching a lady and decide that it simply isn't worth it. In contrast to the women of the 1990s, who weren't so rude when a man tried to strike up a discussion with them. It's banners. Now that we've discussed that, we can all agree that modern women's perception of men is terrible. Let's find out if modern women are even approachable in the first place. You have to present yourself as approachable if you want to be approached, or else if you approach a lady, you risk being branded as a creepy man. Today's women appear to have something stuck in their asses as they move about. I am aware that you have had the experience of admiring a lady but being turned off by the way she had done up her face to resemble the devil. Modern women have lost the ability to smile and appear friendly in public, since practically all of them walk about with a countenance that begs, "Don't talk to me." And to be very honest, it either turns men off or scares them away. Men are unlikely to approach a woman who appears resistant to a conversation, especially from a man. As a result, men avoid these women, and if you try to urge one of these women to smile, society will view you as a misogynist. If, as a guy, society doesn't value my true opinions, and I am aware that it doesn't, then so be it. Why would I subject myself to the danger of scorn when I am aware that society doesn't care about me? Men now choose to avoid approaching women. If you notice a man who always has an angry expression on, would you be interested in speaking with him? Most men view women in that way. If a guy tries to start a discussion with a woman he likes, but she appears distant and closed off, he will conclude that she doesn't want to speak to anybody and won't want to approach her. That is how crucial a friendly smile and open body language are, yet modern women don't understand this, and they aren't prepared to adapt. In the same way, men will just avoid them. And when they do, they lament the fact that no men are approaching them. Ladies, you now have two options. Men will avoid you like the plague until you send out signals that you're approachable, or you put up "and I don't want to be approached" face. It's up to you. I don't give two fucks about your decision. The last reason I think guys aren't pursuing women anymore is that they've determined that dating women isn't really worth it anymore. Men have been told, "You're too short, you're ugly, don't talk to me. I don't like broke guys, don't talk to me if you don't have all the sixes." 6 foot tall, 6 rock abs, and a 6-figure income. Why on earth would guys want to approach women when they are so sick of the bullshit? Women nowadays are quitting relationships and cheating on men at higher rates than before. Every day, the way they treat men continues to deteriorate. Men have decided to stay in their lane and let modern women treat Joe and David fairly. They no longer desire any interaction with women. The unjust treatment Peter received from Lisa is something they don't want to deal with. Women will only become worse, so we'll stay put and take advantage of our independence and serenity without having to deal with toxic women. We don't need a wife or a girlfriend, and things will remain as they are. Nevertheless, more power to the men who still want to enter relationships right away. I won't judge you, but I will say that you run a serious chance of getting arrested, humiliated in front of others, treated with contempt, and wrongly accused of something you did not commit. There is no issue as long as you are aware of the risks and still decide to continue. As I said earlier, I won't judge you. That's all for today on Manhood. Don't forget to smash the like and subscribe buttons, and also click on the notification bell to be the first to know when I drop a new video. See you next time. Cheers.